Welcome to Rollerball.
Yeah. When you think of rollerball, think of three things: smashing, bashing, and trashing.
This is no ordinary game. This is rollerball.
What is it? A mixture between hockey, rugby.
An ice skating rink and a motocross track built out of concrete.
Throwing a hand grenade in extreme games and shaking it all up.
I hate everybody, so I sabotage all of their stuff.
This is so much about a game, but the theatrics. It's really a show we're putting on.
Hitting hard.
The nature of the game is pain. It's a blood sport. There are no rules.
It'd probably be the most violent sport out there.
In thinking about doing a movie like this, like Rollerball, if you can't perform some of the stunts yourself, you're not going to be able to be in any part of the movie, you know, except right here. You want to be in the film and you want to take an active stance, and so that's what I wanted to do, and that's why I trained as hard as I did.
We really had to work from ground zero because inline skating wasn't really something that I grew up doing.
I sat down with the Olympic Oval, Andrew Barron, myself, and the rest of the coaches at the Oval, and we figured out the length of time that Chris would need to try to get a training program together for Chris.
And they said, look, we've got an actor, and we'd like you to teach him how to skate and get him in shape so he can perform credibly in the role that he's going to be in. And so I got the phone call, and I said, sure, it sounds like fun.
It was actually quite a humbling experience there in Calgary because they were asking me to use muscle stabilization techniques and things that I hadn't really been used to doing. And all that relates simply to being able to balance on an inch width as opposed to your entire foot.
In the movie, he's got to be a credible skater, and he's going to have endurance to be on the set all day and perform the skating. So we tested him, and luckily we found out that he is a very fit young athlete. And so from that point on, we could treat him like an athlete versus Joe Public off the street who we were just trying to get in shape and lose a bit of weight.
We're practicing crossing over on the ramp and, you know, seeing what it feels like to weave in and out and to have people skating in close-knit patterns and real tightly together so that we feel comfortable when we get on the track.
You think you're an athlete or you have some sort of athletic prowess, you should be able to pick up something relatively fast, and it gets very frustrating when your muscles can't do what your brain is asking them to do. Either that, or your muscles are doing whatever they want and your brain doesn't know what to tell them to do. It's learning how to walk, essentially, on wheels.
It was physically demanding, but it was great. You know, I mean, it wasn't like, I'd rather do that than sit around on my ass all day getting a stiff back. You know, we were moving around a lot, definitely. We got our exercise.
Yeah.
I had to learn to ride a motorcycle the first weekend I came up here, and I was really excited about that, actually. I learned fairly quickly. I'm not, you know, I'm not Evel Knievel. Yippee-ki-yo! But I had to do a stunt on my 4th day. I had to drive over a guy on the track, which was very exciting and scary. And he was fine, and I was more worried about myself. I had to go take some muscle soaks. I was covered in bruises the entire time.
J'aime les motocyclettes. I love the motorcycles. I didn't actually ride before the movie. I prepped it actually in my backyard. I was playing, going up and down dirt mounds in my backyard and just going crazy. But then when we got out there on the track, then I had to learn it again. Because now I'm on the track, now I have to figure out how I get up on the wall. And I'm watching my stunt guy, and he's getting up on the wall like it's absolutely no problem. Like, you know, hey, this is how we do it. This is nothing for me. And I'm struggling with it. And eventually I got better and better, and I was able to get pretty high up on the wall. I would say maybe 5 or 6 feet.
stunt coordinator organizes the stunts and gets whatever equipment, ideas, and people you need together to make a stunt happen. The toughest part about this job has probably been the unusual track, the fact that we have a figure 8 with jumps in the middle where people crisscross in the air, and we have banked sides and 8 to 10 feet vertical at the ends.
The track was actually a lot smaller than it looks in the movie, and so it was really crowded. I mean, you had to have your wits about you, and you had to, you know, it's all about the peripheral vision. Because, I mean, there were people everywhere. People were falling left and right, but, you know, you had to get right back up and keep going.
Coming up with stunts and getting skaters up on the wall and motorcycles up on the wall, doing things like that, it's very unusual.
Everything we've done has been really different. I haven't really been on any show that's been anywhere near as difficult as this.
We have rollerbladers and motorcycles on the track, so we've been doing a ton of motorcycle stunts, jumping the motorcycles from jump to jump, having skaters crash into each other and into motorcycles, having skaters drop down towers. We lit a couple bikes on fire, had them explode. We're going to be lighting some people on fire. We created a lot of this stuff just for the show.
Yes, these are actual actors performing real stunts on the set of Rollerball. Ah!
Yeah. Better be getting my stunt card for this.
This is the first time I've worked in the action movie genre, and it's been really exciting for me. It's been really fun. I think the physicality aspect of this film has been very, very challenging, but very exciting to push myself and see what I can do at the same time.
Yes.
Chris was absolutely one of the gamest people that I've dealt with in there because he's young, he's athletic. He was doing something that I don't think he'd really done before. McTiernan wanted us to get a shot of him really coming around the edge, up on the side, coming around. He just got in there and, we're towing him around this thing at, 35 miles an hour. His body's, parallel to the ground, perpendicular to the side of the track, and he's zipping by. That was pretty typical what was going on. Everybody really wanted to get in and do it and make it as exciting as they could.
It's a cast of thousands, as you can see. It's mayhem.
A stunt double usually looks similar to, in stature, the lead actor or actress or whoever actor. And we put on their wardrobe, and they usually shoot it quite wide so you can't really see our faces. And we try to turn our faces away from the camera so you can't tell who it is. And the editors are very crafty in the way they piece pieces together. They use a stunt double for only a certain amount of frames, so you can't really focus in and see that it's not the actor.
I had to unlearn how to punch, basically, because in a movie, you telegraph your punch, and you really go and you miss. I have such a reflex, so when I turn, I plant and then I punch, but then it's too quick for the camera. So I had to slow it down and really come from here and really whack it. It's like the stunt coordinator is like, okay, I know you're a boxer, I know you're really good, but you know what? We want you to really come from here and give a cowboy punch, basically. That was interesting.
I'm the bad guy. I give the hero a reason to be redeemed in the end. Get the goddamn camera out of my face, asswipe!
In this scene we're about to shoot, I take Chris Klein's most excellent stunt double, the extreme skater Serge, out like the trash.
And I like it. Right.
When LL Cool J was getting any of his close-ups, he was actually riding the motorcycle, and it just seemed to be at a slightly slower pace than the stuntman would have done the wide shot.
On the track, it got really, really physical, especially doing the stunts. That's why you gotta be careful with those stunts, man. I had motorcycles hanging off my ankles, liquid flame shooting, falling off of bikes. My gloves were made out of steel. They were cutting through the leather, hitting my knuckles. It was wild. I got to do a few of my stunts, a few of the minor things, some of the minor jumps over the ramp. I did some cool stuff, and the rest of the guys made me look really good, so there you have it.
The motorcycle stunt for LL jumping out was a completely practical stunt.
The wall is not perpendicular to the track. It slants out a bit, so it actually becomes its own ramp.
I rode to the wall, but going up the wall, that's when the big boys had to come out. They had to break out the big artillery because I didn't want to end up like my character, for real.
The motorcycle going out was actually, the stunt guy rode it up, went on top, hung on the top of the Lexan, and then fell off the back side. That was just a flat-out stunt. The ability to do digital fixes and computer-generated imagery and everything is done for stunts. It allows us to do more dramatic stunts and take things and carry them beyond what you could have done before. You can make somebody jump 20 feet, where before, if you wanted to have it look like somebody jumped 20 feet, you have to do it through 3 cuts to get the sense of hang time and everything in it. Now we can actually put them on a cable, make them jump 20 or 30 feet, and then we just erase the cables and paint things back in. I think it's freed it up to where we can take stunts, and Gary and Jamie and all the stunt people on the show can take things and run them even further than they ever could before, because now we can go in the image and take out the air ramp that was there or take out the cables. It really has freed things up so that you can do that extreme and still do it safely.
In the old days, we may have injured somebody, and now we've learned how to get around that and use special apparatus we've built to make it done safely. And then in post-production, they often augmentate those with some computer-generated things that make it all seem more exciting than it actually was.
We take the film, digitize it, make it digital information, put it on a computer, and an artist sits there and takes things from a frame before, a frame after, where the wires are moving over things that exist. And like the arc that ran over that had the rollers that the cables ran in, so that the one stunt guy makes a jump, and he's actually on a track with cables on him, and Jonathan comes in and hits him low and does this big spin and slaps him back, and he hits the other side of the track. We just painted a complete piece that we put in over that. And that's the way I dealt with most of this. Sometimes if you have a lock-off plate, you do something that doesn't have all the rigging in it, keep the camera in position, put the rigging in, have the actor do his thing, and then just bring the clean stuff into it. With motion control, we can do the same thing. We have a moving shot, has a clean background, and we just paint that in to take the wires out. So in most cases, it was just having an artist go in and literally frame by frame say, okay, paint this out, look at it, make sure they haven't made any mistakes. So it was hand labor.
The skaters on the set, the stuff that they could do on those rollerblades, you would not believe.
They hired some of the young X Games kids. These guys were animals. They could absolutely do frightening things and think nothing of it and just thrive on the thrill of getting a chance to attempt them.
The sport is aggressive skating, which we all hate to call it. It's because it's, you know, we're not very aggressive guys. We don't really go out and like beat the crap out of people, you know?
There was never a dull moment. I mean, you couldn't get, if you were bored, you just went and sat by the side of the track and watched these guys at lunchtime, you know, just balls out, doing flips and, you know, just flying up the sides of, you know, the walls. They were crazy. I mean, and they loved it. They loved entertaining us. They were constantly putting on a show.
Woo-hoo! Yeah! They weren't uncontrolled. They just had energy. And for them, finding a new place to skate and experimenting with every little inch and putting, you know, finding every little ounce of air out of this little space, that's what they did. They live in a world of discovery and a world of adventure on wheels. And this track provided an excellent venue for them to test their skills, where at first they're, you know, going up and coming down the plexiglass, to by the end of the show, they were going up the plexiglass, rail sliding it, and coming back down. they would just go, they were going huge. And it was so fun to watch because everybody did. The extras were clapping and everything, and so when there was a break, they would absolutely, all of them would just skate, 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 and skate. At the same time, these guys weren't really used to the filmmaking process. And as it were, setups and preparation to do a shot is a pretty tedious, you know, process. And so for these guys, when that would happen, they would skate. And they skated all day. Their energy was endless, truly endless.
Nice. Very nice. I try to come up with exciting ways to take these little extreme guys out. That's basically my job. They skate high up on the glass and go crazy, and then I come in and deliver the big whack and have a great time in the process. So they skate and go crazy, and I take them down.
Yeah! If you were one of these skaters and you had to face me on the set of this movie, any given day you could expect this. Oh, nothing.
The stunt sequences in San Francisco were some of the most intricate stunt sequences because it involves a luge sled, which is that far off the ground, and you have to get a camera that far off the ground. And not only that, we were shooting it in the hills of downtown San Francisco. We started that particular sequence right on top of Nob Hill, which, if you don't know what San Francisco is, it's, you know, it is pretty much it's the highest hump in downtown San Francisco. In all directions, you're going down from Nob Hill, and you're going down fast.
Gary Davis was the stunt coordinator, and he's a fantastic motorcycle racer in his own right. He's been racing for, 30-some years, used to double for Evel Knievel. So he's a guy you really respect, and you know that he has a great understanding of what it entails to put together motorcycle stunts. And then working with a guy like John McTiernan with the action directing record that he has, you feel honored and pretty trusting.
We brought in 2 of the X Games guys.
Biker Sherlock, he's a great guy, he's a world champion street luge racer. We knew we had a solid guy. We weren't just sending somebody down that didn't have any luge experience. Biker was flat out, no feet down, no brakes, hanging it out on that luge. We were standing at the top of the hills. We got full brakes on these motorcycles. We're doing it, and he just took off and ran it flat all the way down that tri-level with no brakes at all, without his feet coming down. It was amazing to watch.
Todd Lair, he was very, very relaxed and very professional. He knew his thing. There was no fear with him. So it was all timing with me and the guy on the luge. It was scary though. It was really scary doing it almost 20 times.
The difference when you bring a professional performer in as opposed to a seasoned stuntman is really only the mindset. What they have trouble doing is having a real near miss with another car or crashing on purpose. The things that a stuntman has to do daily, there aren't any stunt guys that can keep up with Biker Sherlock on a sled. But if it comes time when you have to throw it sideways and slam into a garbage truck, Biker's not going to really want to be the guy that does that. The stunt guy's going to step in and take his place.
Orchestrating a crash when all your instincts tell you to save it is something that you just have to really sit down and say, okay, I'm going to crash, and just really channel through. Say, this is what I'm going to do. Because if you kind of get halfway committed in the crash and your instinct takes over and you try and save it, then it could turn into a disaster. Like if you're going to do a lay down on a bike and you second guess it in the last minute and that lay down turns into a 70-mile-an-hour high side, you're done. When you see a great sequence cut together, it's one of the most rewarding things in the world. You go to the premiere of the screening, you're there with your friends, to see it pull together and look totally dynamic and exciting and achieve what we set out to do and achieve it with safety. So to know that you exercised a certain amount of safety but got totally radical and pulled it off for the camera, and the director and your friends get to enjoy it, it's really what it's all about.
At the end of every day when we were on the track, we would do this thing that kind of got termed free-for-all. And we would hit, and we would crash, and we would really do it, really play rollerball.
The game became the real deal. I mean, it wasn't usually a competitive game where you played with the ball. We never played with the ball, but everybody was out to show the new trick they'd learned on the skates or what they could do on the bikes, and it got Western.
That's the movie right there.
Oh, nothing.